project. Oh boy. Yeah, the Blair Witch down at the creek. Well, he's tucked in there pretty good. Oh, he's ready. Okay, here we go. Now this is going to be another interesting experiment because he is down in the woods quite a ways.
Okay.
Wow, that looks good. I got the Wi-Fi extender quite a few feet down the way, so I don't know if you're on your phone. Are you hotspotting it on your phone?
I'm on Wi-Fi. My hotspot is actually only one bar. I was pretty surprised. To be
Wow.
honest.
Wow, that looks great, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, this is excellent. I mean, for me.
All right. Well, let me make sure I'm talking to you and nobody can see you. Bear with me just a second.
And look at this freak.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull you in. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Nope, not that one. Good gracious. Here we go. Whew. All right. There, everybody can see who I'm talking to. If I can get out behind the box. Yeah, that's coming in very nicely.
It's surprising because it's actually pretty quick. I would expect this to be a really sleepy kind of stream, but it's actually really moving.
Oh, they're saying that your audio is a bit quiet. Let me see if I can tweak you here. Da-da. I don't think that I can, so maybe you just turn.
I might be able to use my big boy voice.
Yeah, the creek isn't really an ambling creek, and that's the funny thing about it. It will, as we've talked about, it'll go from a few inches to 5 feet in the rainy season, and you can see the high water mark where the water will flow.
Pretty much on the bank here.
Yeah.
It's all decomposing, degrading, very good stuff.
That's nice. There's a tree down there too. I wanted to show you, see if you could get an ID for me. I have used an app, and it's told me three different times. It gave me 3 different results. So I was like, okay, well then you don't know what, but it does look like a certain type of tree to me. It's the big one right there in the water at where that land juts out from the red chairs. Yeah, it's not as pretty down there as it used to be. I've got to do some cleanup after all the washout we had.
It's the wilderness.
Yeah. Yeah, so after we're done, I may have to come down there and show you what I'm talking about. But I think now next week is actually North American Invasive Species Week.
Really?
Yeah, but I think you are going to talk about a particular invasive to kind of give us a run up to Invasives Week, yeah?
Yes, I am. Okay. So I'm actually going to be talking about the Chinaberry tree, and its scientific name is Melia azararock. Melia azararock. And it's also known as the Fight of India or the Cape Lilac, and it's actually part of the mahogany family.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain why they used it to make furniture. Because,
Very valuable,
yeah.
supposedly.
Huh. How about that? Yeah, I've got your volume all the way up here. So, is that okay? Can y'all hear him okay?
More acceptable, really protect myself.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Chinaberry. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So yeah, the Chinaberry actually, development. The bark actually, I don't really have one right now, but it actually grows and changes color. So in the beginning, it's actually a kind of reddish gray kind of color, and then turns to like what we think of as like normal bark.
So they're telling me that it's still difficult to hear you. So I'm just going to repeat some of what you're saying. And what he's talking about is that Chinaberry can change color. Um, I don't know why does it change color.
That is a scientific answer. I know that it's just that bark changes as it matures. I'm not sure for the particular reason. I know mahogany, at least furniture, has a real red tint to it, so they might. This is just my thinking, but they may harvest it younger to get that like bright color.
I gotcha. And Dave, I've turned up the desktop audio. I don't know if that increases his voice, but it probably would also increase mine. So I'll try to talk a little softer. Let me know if that helps.
So the flowers of this are really small and fragrant, and they look like pale like lilac petals, and they really cluster up.
Interesting. Do you have some of the berries nearby? Oh, about the same? Okay.
I'm looking.
If not down there, I know there are going to be some up along a fence line as you're back in the yard. I have some roselles that I was growing because we harvest roselles. We make our own jelly out of roselles. Plus, you can add the leaves to salads, which they're very delicious. But I've got a patch of roselles that came up underneath Chinaberry, and the Chinaberry has, as we've talked about, and you'll tell us more, a way to deter competition for nutrients. So I'm pretty sure you'll probably find berries there. Yeah, I can't hear you at all now. That's a good try, though. We could do a bad lip reading.
It was a good shot.
Oh yeah. Oh.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there you go. I can hear you again, though. I can. What I can do. Let me see if I can turn up my speaker. I don't want that to loop through the microphone. Are y'all getting an echo?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and let's see if my mic will pick up the speaker.
Okay. Yeah, it's weird because last time I didn't change anything.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just down by the river here.
Yeah, in a van, down by the river.
That's where I was going with it. I hope you picked up on that. my dad used to say that all the time.
Yep.
Well, if you don't like it, you can get a van down by the river.
Oh, yeah. They said the tree hugger is hearable.
Wow, really? That changed stuff? Okay, excellent. I literally just switched the microphone and switched it back. Whatever. Technology.
Yeah, technology. We were just talking about this in emails, using technology to rail on about technology.
Yeah, right. Isn't that ironic?
Yeah. Okay, so Chinaberries, and you're down by the river.
The fruit is a small little marble size. It's usually like a yellow when it's fully mature, and it usually hangs on the tree all winter, and then it becomes wrinkled as winter goes on and becomes pretty much white, like the flowers.
Yeah, it's interesting too because I don't know of many wildlife that will eat those berries. But of course, Chinaberry is an invasive because it's very prolific. It grows quite fast. And those seeds drop. So it makes quite a mess. They grow very quickly. We when we were driving around, we didn't look at the Chinaberry that have managed to migrate. So something might be carrying seeds out somewhere, but I don't think they eat enough of them because I can find droves of seeds, and I have to try to. I throw them in a pile so they'll degrade without growing.
Right. So when you were talking about birds, some hummingbirds actually like these.
Oh,
Or the flowers, at least, rather.
I did not realize that. And we have some hummingbirds right in this tabatuya tree, right out. It's what you might be able to see it when we do the outdoor cam at times for slow TV. And they're the ones who feed out of the feeders as well, because most of the good plants have died due to the freeze or series of freezes, so their food source hasn't come back yet. But I'll have to keep my eyes on that.
So, and the real thing about these China berries is that they're toxic, and when they ingest this fruit, and it goes through their digestive system, some animals are immune to the degree of toxicity, but a large amount are pretty seriously harmed by them, and humans too, if they're eaten in a certain amount of quantity. But they're not harmful to birds. So
That's interesting because you would think that a tree would want to make delectable seeds so that it can proliferate, and
right.
yet those seeds are bad.
I think this tree particularly, at least the evolution, if we're talking like evolutionary strategy, I think it's really going for birds. It doesn't like us mammals. We only move like 50 feet or from it or whatever, and then go through our digestive system and it's all out. But they want the big stuff. They want to move.
Yeah. Well, and Moser Man mentioned it's a Chinese plot that the seeds are dropped from balloons.
Stop! That's too funny. Oh my god.
We're gonna have to get an F-22 to shoot them down.
I can't believe that the F-22's first air-to-air takedown was a balloon.
Yeah.
That was insane.
Well, reckon I'll use my Sidewinder to destroy that balloon. It seems like overkill, but okay.
And what's funny about these China berries actually is the chemical in it. It's called here we go, tetronitriterpenoids, and they're an important chemical in neem oil, if you're familiar.
Oh, neem oil. Yeah.
I use neem oil a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so as organic gardeners, we'll use neem oil to try to control some of the bad bug population. We got some soil in, and it was supposed to be of a certain quality, and it was not. It was filled with stink bug larvae. So we had a huge problem with stink bugs. I don't know that the problem's eradicated at this point. So we would use neem oil to try to rid ourselves of them. Yep. Interesting. I forgot that's where neem oil comes from.
Yeah, it's funny because I use it pretty often because I unfortunately pack my plants together because I like plants so much and I just have to shove them into one spot.
Well, it's fascinating to me that that the Chinaberry can kill competition the way it can. As we were talking about moments ago, that's one of the reasons why, as an invasive, it's so bad, because not only can it grow quickly, but it kills competition. So it will eradicate your native environment for its own purposes.
Yeah, and it is so hard to compete with, especially in Florida when it's a very tropical, humid climate where it's just allowed to absolutely thrive. And like we said with the birds, how it can just primarily eaten by birds, so it can just take over large swaths of areas pretty quickly, especially with how many berries it produces.
That's pretty incredible. That is very incredible. Huh.
And a lot of people, a lot of cities were actually using them. South Carolina and Georgia, when it originally came in the 1830s, people were using it as like an ornamental shade tree because it is a very pretty tree. And to a person who doesn't really know anything about it, and then 10, 20 years later, you're like, wow, there's a lot of these guys around.
Yeah. Well, and so you're right. Some people might say, "Oh, I just love the shade." Yeah. Did you notice that nothing's growing underneath it? Yeah. Well, and Solomon brings up an interesting point. He's asking potentially jokingly about Chinaberry being burnable, but because of the toxicity of the berries and the chemicals within the Chinaberry that kill competition, we do not burn it. We don't put it in our fireplace. And when we cut it down, we stack it on a compost pile and just let it naturally degrade. Now, the only thing that I've seen grow out of that compost pile is wild beans. The beans, a nitrogen fixer, they can grow, but nothing else grows in there.
And it's funny because you would really think that something would fill that niche under the Chinaberry eventually.
Yeah.
But
well, and maybe there is something where this plant's native, but we don't have anything here, apparently. In the same way, we don't have predators that will eat its berries. And it could be that they know that they're bad, or they can tell that they're bad, but they've not developed at least the mammals have not developed a way to ingest them without probably dying.
Yeah, the mammals, team mammals. We're really messing up here.
So Solomon says, so what you're saying is you need holy water and a priest to get rid of it. That is true.
Essentially.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many of them I've cut down and they grow back. So Karen got something that we have to paint over the stumps so that they encourages rot. But I was thinking a minute ago, I talked about Tabatuia. That's also an invasive, and we've got 2 or 3 in the yard. And that's the one that produces tremendously pretty yellow flowers. They are quite lovely. But, man, that thing is invasive like the Chinaberry. So when you're down by the water, you see a lot of little saplings of similar structure, similar leaf structure. That's probably the Tabatuia. And because I have to go down there and cut them out, mow them out, pull them out, whatever I can do, because they grow fast. Their little seeds are helicopters. And they just helo all over the place. It's like Apocalypse Now in the plant kingdom.
Yeah, I can't get over this tree, honestly. I'm just like in awe. I'm looking at it. I love all the arrowheads poking out. I'm like, this is definitely ideal.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
There's fallen trees. Oh, hold on. Fallen logs.
Yep.
And I love everything being like as it is.
That little spot right across from where the red chairs are, that used to be about 3.5 feet higher than the water level. And you can see, in just one season how that's leveled out down there. It used to not look like that. We had a tremendous amount of water damage in this past rainy season.
And you said how many species of fish were there in this creek?
Well, we've definitely seen mosquito fish. I haven't seen any others. I haven't seen any crayfish, crawfish, crawdaddies. Haven't seen anything
I
like
feel,
that. Yeah, but
feel like crabs would definitely do pretty well here.
yeah, and there's no telling what was there prior to that big wash that we had come out. Um, so I walked the creek a few days ago, and I didn't see any life in the water, which is disappointing. But it could just be also that the frogs hide during the daytime. We don't normally hear the frogs until nighttime. Plus, there's raccoons down there, so if they can get their jowls on anything, they'll eat it. So, anywho,
Yeah.
were you typing?
I clicked out of my notes.
Oh.
So I don't think I actually mentioned where it was native to, but it's native to parts of Asia, and it's introduced to North and South America here in more of the tropical regions. And like I said before, they were used as an ornamental tree. But apparently, one thing that I found said that a lot of people were slipping on the berries on sidewalks. So
Oh.
that was one of the reasons that people were like, "Wow, we got to get rid of this thing."
Interesting. Yeah, it's interesting that they brought it in to make furniture, but I don't know how long that worked. I don't know how long they said, "Hey, this is great," and then decided, "Hey, ooh, squirrel, different tree. Let's go there."
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, they probably realized that nothing was growing near it, and were like, "Oh, well, maybe this is not so good."
Yeah, yeah. So I was letting Moserman know we are midway between Orlando and Tampa. Our town, the nearest town, which is 6 miles away roughly, is Dade City. So we are to the west of Dade City by roughly 6 miles, which is the same distance between us and Green Swamp.
Green Swamp is actually pretty interesting. I don't know too much about it, but I really want to go. I heard it's very biodiverse.
Oh yeah, it's awesome. I'd love to do a kayak trip.
Yeah.
Karen and I,
I would,
yeah, we try to get out on the kayaks during the good times of the year, not when it's buggy and terribly hot. So like today would be an awesome day to get out on the water. But there's just some wonderful water to tootle around on the Withlacoochee. Good times.
Yeah, I'm just near Wikiwachi, pretty much. That's my tourist attraction.
So you can go down there and watch the mermaids.
Oh yeah, they're very real. It's funny that you say that, because my dad, whenever we would travel or anywhere, he would think that this Wikiwachi is like this like grand place, right? And he's like, well, Elvis went there, so everybody knows about it. I mean, clearly.
Yeah.
Clearly. So he was like, oh, Wikiwachi, the place with the mermaids, and everybody's like, no.
No.
Definitely not.
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar with Wikiwachi, it's one of the things they did decades ago. Is you could go and you could have a meal, and this is before the big housing boom, population boom in Florida. But you could go out to Wikiwachi, and as one of its tourist attractions, you could sit and eat and watch the mermaids in the tank. And the mermaids would come and swim down, and Yeah, yada yada. So they still do it. I think some of the luster's off, but but
Certainly so.
oh hey yeah, Dave Moser. He says that he went there as a kid with his grandparents.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, I think my dad has definitely been vindicated. Finally. So I guess I have to shut my mouth now because I'm wrong. Everybody knows what you watch.
Yep, good times. In honesty, I didn't know about it until I moved here. And I lived over in Pensacola for many years, but it wasn't until I moved here in Central Florida and my wife was talking about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, yeah, Wiki Watchy, blah, 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 mermaids. Would you like to go? No.
I don't blame you. It's a sleepy river, but I mean it's good. It's a good kayak ride. So
Well,
drifting down.
yeah, and Moser Man was saying how he had the hots for the mermaids.
That's how they get you.
Yep. Come for the food.
That's the attraction.
Yep. Come for the food. Stay for the mermaids.
Yeah. It's just like Hooters.
Well, for our stream when our interns do their talks, I have moved our category from just chatting to traveling outdoors in the hopes that folks who are interested in the outdoors would find us a little bit easier. And and travel also. So your travel tips on WikiWatch are fantastic.
Wow, Arkansas! I actually can't believe WikiWatch has an outreach.
Yep. Yep. Look at that, drawing them from around the world, because Arkansas is a whole other country. Yeah, Sullivan has a good question, Dave. Whether it was a human part or the fish part for your mermaid attraction, but that's a whole other show right there. It reminds me of Futurama when Fry fell in love with the mermaid. And,
oh my god!
Yeah, he was going to get married. He was going to get married to the mermaid, and actually got married to her. And then on the wedding night, realized that fish reproduce an entirely different way. So yeah, he was like, "All right, I'm out." Oh, goodness gracious. Too funny, Dave.
Yeah, it's not very travel and outdoors.
Oh, man.
Maybe it's really outdoors. I don't know.
Well, tell us more. What else you got down there?
Are these ferns here? Are these Australian tree ferns, or are these great bracken ferns?
It's interesting. We have different types of ferns, so I'm not sure which one you might be around, but we do have, I think they're broadsword ferns. So some ferns are invasive, and I'm afraid that we have some of the invasive species that we have are not just Chinaberry, but yeah, we have some invasive ferns. We have some invasive coralberry, which are beautiful and birds love them, but they're highly invasive. Yeah, I'm not quite sure which one.
From a thing, but just
yeah, I'm not sure which one it is, but we are working with the USDA on a forest management plan, and hopefully we'll get funding this year for it. And then that forest management plan will help us bring folks in to rid these the habitat of invasives, because we tend to look at plants, we're like, oh, that's green and beautiful and critters probably love it, but a lot of these invasive plants aren't eaten by the critters. And the invasive plants are preventing the native plants from growing that the critters will eat. So, in part of our restoration plan, we've got to get a lot of this invasive stuff out so that we can get the natural stuff to grow again, and then the normal habitat can grow, and the animals will come back, and so on and so forth.
Right. And it's funny because that's the other option would be the Australian way, which is not as amazing, which is bringing in critters to eat the invasives, and then they become invasive.
Yeah.
Like with the cane toad.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have found 2 cane toads on the property. Yeah. And cane toads are bad. They're invasive because they'll eat anything. And I'm not kidding you. One of them was probably that big around. So they have no natural predator because they secrete a toxin that makes them very nasty. So if you find them, you have to you bag them, and I mean you can just kill them outright, which a lot of people say don't do that. But you can just put them in a bag and put them in your freezer. They'll fall asleep, and then of course they're dead.
Fall asleep.
Yeah. Yeah, they basically hibernate. So then you
oh, they do. They really do go dormant.
yeah. So then you can kill them once they're asleep.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's the.
I thought you were joking, but they.
Yep, that's the preferred method of destroying cane toads.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll keep my eyes peeled
Yeah, please do.
and my freezer open.
Yeah, the freezer open. I haven't seen any for a number of years now, but we have lots of birds of prey. We have eagles and barred owls and hawks, and they'll eat the bullfrogs and the eastern narrow-mouthed toad that we have here. Those are the ones that I normally bring out during the Halloween time frame because we walk outside and at night, and the narrow-mouthed toads are like, surprise, surprise. That's what they sound like, surprise. So you get this cacophony of surprise. So it's a lot of fun, but the birds of prey will not eat those cane toads.
Are they toxic? Do they have anything inside of them?
Yeah, they. If I recall correctly, this is a bit off of your tree topic, but they can certainly secrete some nasty bile, which it'll fill an animal's mouth full of gunk. But if a dog were to eat them, a dog would die. So yeah. So
it's like a mucus.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't know if there's a habit with cane toads of humans trying to lick them to get high, like there are other toads that people do that with. That's a whole other problem. But yeah, if you tried to do it to these guys, I think they'd make you sick. Yeah, Solomon mentioned you could donate any toads to your local witches. Yeah, you don't want to use those in any potions.
So just a little run back to the Chinaberry, and then I'm pretty much done, to be honest. I only have a little bit more to say. They reach about like 50 feet, and they're seeds. It's only one seed per fruit.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it. Bees like them. They're good pollinators. However, they're very invasive. And,
Yeah.
We don't want their DNA spreading around.
Yeah, no, that's interesting too. I wonder what role Chinaberry plays in honey production if bees are pollinating them. So that's interesting. Well, on your way through the fence, if you hug to the right of the fence, past where the stump is of the tree that we cut down, so you'll go through the gate, and then as you pass the two stumps right there, we had to have that big tree cut down because it was a sweet gum. But it was shedding its limbs and it was making it dangerous. So we had our arborist come in and cut it down. In fact, I want to put you in touch with our arborist. I'm supposed to see them this week, see if we can refer you to them, and maybe you can have a conversation with them.
That'd be great.
A tree conversation.
Well, I have to get right there so I can lock the gate properly.
Oh, yeah. No worries. There is a Chinaberry right down that tree line as well. I've cut it down and it's coming back. But if you, if you turn to the right, and yeah, your other right. Well, right or left because you're at 180. So if you head up the yard following that fence line, you go past those, past the stumps that are behind you. Yeah, there you go. And there's a century plant up there and a fire bush, and you walk past that. So if you look to your right, that's a Chinaberry. And if you look on the ground where it looks a bit desiccated, that's my roselles that were all killed. Maybe pan to your left. Yep, a little bit more. So if you look, see all those, looks like twigs and whatnot poking up on the bottom left of your screen? That Chinaberry is centered in your camera right now. And that Chinaberry has been dropping seeds down in there and it killed my roselle. So to give you an idea of what happens when the Chinaberry starts to decay or the chemicals start leaching into the ground, it kills the competition around there. So there, some grass is growing, but that's about it. You've got some John Charles sticking out there every which way. Those seem to be fine. And those, I don't know that those are invasive, but they have invasive characteristics. So you can take the John Charles and cut those down and make, they used to make fences out of them because they grow so quickly, but it's basically America's bamboo, I think. But yeah, all the way down there at that really desiccated spot is all our roselle. So I'm hoping to cut that Chinaberry down this week. Solomon says, yeah, I've been listening to that for months.
You see, I talked about it. We've established. Now it's gone. Forget about it.
Yep. My chainsaws are actually getting serviced so that I can make some headway on my Chinaberry. So, yeah, we haven't seen any spooky women down there, Solomon, and it's been quite some time since we've seen a Yeti. But yeah, and you've got some invasives right there where your camera's panning too. Those are from China, and I can't think of the name of them right now.
Are you talking about these purple flowers?
Yep. That does a wonderful job, though, although it's invasive. It does a good job of filtering out, heavy metals from the soil and pollutants from the soil. So we haven't eradicated it for a number of reasons. One, whoever put it there to begin with did it to control erosion, and that's a real problem right in that spot. So we haven't found a replacement yet. That grows very fast. And you'll also notice right behind a row of that purple plant is some papyrus. And so yep, there it is right there. That's papyrus. So I'm not sure what they were going for when whoever built the house, with some papyrus and tabatuya, and that's part of the problem is, oh, it's pretty, let's put it in here, without realizing, especially 20 years ago, that you're doing a lot of ecological damage because it's invasive, highly invasive in some cases.
Right. And just like me, with my camphor trees. I swear. That's the only invasive that I actually enjoy, personally.
It gets back to the challenge that we've talked about before. Yes, it's invasive. What gift does it provide? Does it have some benevolent characteristic that we can say, okay, this is invasive. We'll manage the invasiveness of it because birds love it or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all I want them to do.
Right. Well, Solomon brings up an interesting question. He says, could you defeat the Chinaberry with another plant? That's part of the problem, is there's no competition for it. We don't have any animals or plants that can outcompete it. So that's the problem.
And that's when you bring something in, and then you have to bring something in for that, and then you have to bring something in for that, and it's just an entire process.
Yep, and I think that's one of the problems. Didn't they bring in angelfish to do something, and now the angelfish are highly invasive, or lionfish, or one of them. I can't remember which one it is. I don't have fish on my brain right now.
I think it's lionfish.
Lionfish, yeah. Lionfish and zebra mussels. The zebras came in on the hull of a ship, but yeah, kudzu. Yeah, Dave, good point. Now, though, speaking of invasives, kudzu, they definitely brought it in, especially in the South, for erosion control. However, some of the things that I've been learning, because I've been trying to figure out what gift does kudzu provide, because we allowed a company to come out here. It needed to maintain the electrical wire that runs by our property, so we let them on, and they used a dirty mower blade that was contaminated. We never had a kudzu problem ever, and they used a contaminated mower blade. And now I've got a kudzu problem on the back of the property. So then I had to ask, well, how do we deal with kudzu? So there's a couple of interesting things about kudzu. I didn't know this, but you can eat it. I only knew that I lived in Georgia for a few years, and they would have annual kudzu cutting parties. And they would just cut it and burn it. But you can eat kudzu. And bees love the kudzu flower, and they'll make honey out of it. It's a delicious, presumably delicious, because I've not had any yet. I can't find it. Purple honey. But yeah, to Dave's point, it's taken over Mississippi. It's pretty bad, but so it is edible. So I have never tried to eat it, but maybe that's something we'll have to try to do.
Yeah, I think that'd be excellent. I would be really interested in trying purple honey.
Yeah, I when I found out that it's a rare honey too. When I found out that bees made honey, because we test all types of honey, from the deep dark honeys to the really light acacia honeys. So I thought, oh, purple honey, I gotta find this, and I have yet to find it. But that's something we can do too. We can do a honey tasting, and you can report you and Water Guy can report your findings of these various honeys.
Gluten-free this time.
Oh, yeah, gluten-free, that's right. Now, Dave's saying too, I didn't realize this, they have a festival in Holly Springs, Mississippi, where they cook kudzu and in all kinds of forms and enjoy it. Now that's fascinating. Huh. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, you have to find a purpose for every plant, I would imagine, especially something as widespread as kudzu.
Yeah, I mean, you're left with doing a number of things. You either do nothing, or you bring in something that controls it, which also turns into a problem potentially, as you mentioned, or maybe eat it. I wonder if you would just cook it like a green. You can cook it in, with some bacon and I don't know. Yeah, maybe not very tasty. I'll have to reach out. Well, see, it's not a native plant either. I was going to say Sean Sherman, the sous chef, he cooks a lot of indigenous. He cooks basically decolonized menus. So I was thinking, I wonder if he has done anything with it, but it's not native, so he probably hasn't. But maybe he'll have some good ideas. I'll have to think about that. Yeah, maybe not very tasty, but then again, Americans will put some sugar on it and gobble it up.
That's how we roll.
That and our diabetes.
Yeah, that's it. It's funny because when I was talking about my diet, the reason why I started really working out and I completely changed my diet, no lactose, no gluten, and the reason why is because I thought I was getting pre-diabetes.
Oh, wow.
So that really sends your body into overdrive. Like your mind is like, oh my God, I can't get diabetes.
Yeah.
That's just not happening.
Yep. Yep. I'm Wolford Brimley. I got the diabetes. Yeah, you gotta do what you can to stay away from that. So honey's a nice alternative. I don't know if it's a complete alternative. I'll have to ask. But if Karen's watching, maybe she'll chime in. She's at work, so I don't know if she's been able to stay with us or not. But yeah, very interesting. Yipes.
Yeah, that's pretty much the end of my spiel. I might have to skedaddle pretty soon. I have a class at 11.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, we'll let you go. Thanks. Very informative, and I'll chat with you in the intern world online.
Okay.
All right.
It's always a pleasure. And Solomon, there might be a Taiwan berry. We could figure it out. We need to find.
Oh.
We need to find something to end this war with Chinaberry. End the balloons.
High praise from Solomon. Good job, tree hugger, he says.
And it's funny because I actually did think about the balloons. Like if they were to have seeds, ecological warfare, I feel like could potentially be the next step. Because how passive aggressive is that?
Yeah, well, and Dave and I have chewed some of the same dirt in the Marine Corps, and so he's probably thinking like I have. Karen and I were talking the other night. I was like, you could fly a balloon over, it could drop virus, it could drop any number of bacteria, it could drop, as you mentioned, seeds. Real quickly, China had gone on this thing, and we were warned a couple years ago. We were getting seeds in the mail that we never requested. And I called the USDA, and I'm like, hey, I'm getting seeds from China, and I didn't purchase these. They're like, don't plant those. Send them to us. We'll destroy them. So there you go. Anywho, get on to class. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks.
I'm just interested. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah, Sullivan says future wars will be led by botanists. Possibly so.
I'll be leading the charge.
All right. Have a good next class. Thanks for your work.
All right, thank you. All right, see you guys.
Yeah, good stuff. All right. Fun-filled and whatnot. Yeah, Dave, I pulled up your information.